also believe that Andrew lied about when he first met Epstein and about his December 2010 meeting.
You've been on his private plane.
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island.
Yes.
The camera cuts straight to a grainy, never-before-seen photograph. Prince Andrew, standing casually beside Jeffrey Epstein. No royal banquet, no ceremonial guard, just two men smiling like old friends. But what you're about to hear could turn that smile into the ultimate royal scandal. In the past week, a bombshell biography has detonated across the UK press, and it's not just rehashing old headlines. It's pulling the curtain back on a tangled web of secret meetings, financial intrigue, and connections that stretch from Buckingham Palace to Mar-a-Lago, and even to an alleged assassination plot straight out of a spy thriller. Prince Andrew, once a celebrated war hero and trusted royal figure, is now at the center of allegations that could permanently tarnish the monarchy's reputation. This isn't just about Epstein anymore. It's about an entire network of power, influence, and danger. And here's the kicker. The deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Why did Epstein have 16 different contact numbers for Andrew? What was Donald Trump's role in this overlapping circle? And who, allegedly, wanted Andrew dead on a remote Caribbean island? Stick around, because this story isn't just scandalous, it's downright explosive. To understand why this new biography has hit the royals like a thunderclap, we need to rewind to the early 2000s, when Prince Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein first came under public scrutiny. At the time, Andrew was the Duke of York, a high-profile representative of the monarchy, jetting around the globe on trade missions and rubbing shoulders with the elite. Epstein was the mysterious financier whose guest lists included politicians, billionaires, and celebrities. Their relationship wasn't just a passing acquaintance. The two were photographed together multiple times, often in casual settings, far away from official duties. When Epstein was convicted in 2008 for soliciting sex from a minor, most high-profile friends distanced themselves immediately. Andrew, however, did not, at least not publicly. Instead, in 2010, he was photographed strolling with Epstein in New York's Central Park, a move that baffled and angered royal advisors. Then came Virginia Giuffre's allegations that she had been trafficked by Epstein and forced to have sex with Andrew when she was 17. Andrew denied the accusations, famously insisting in a BBC interview that he had no recollection of ever meeting her, and claiming he was at a Pizza Express in Woking the night of one alleged encounter. The interview was a PR disaster, triggering a firestorm of backlash. Within days, Andrew announced he was stepping back from public duties for the foreseeable future. By 2022, he had settled Giuffre's civil lawsuit out of court for a reported £12 million, without admitting liability. The settlement was meant to draw a line under the scandal, but it didn't. For many Britons, Andrew's association with Epstein became a permanent stain. Polls showed that public trust in the prince collapsed, and calls to strip him of his remaining titles grew louder. In short, he had gone from a key royal player to a deeply controversial figure. Now, this new book claims the story is far from over, and that what we thought we knew barely scratches the surface. Just when it seemed the scandal had run its course, investigative author Andrew Loney dropped a grenade into the royal narrative. His new book, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, isn't just rehashing old gossip, it's claiming Prince Andrew's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein was deeper, longer, and far stranger than previously reported. For starters, Loney alleges that Epstein had not one, not two, but 16 different contact numbers for Prince Andrew stored in his black book. This wasn't the kind of casual networking you might expect between public figures. It was the sign of a frequent personal connection. The book suggests their friendship started far earlier than the public has been told, with Epstein allegedly becoming a behind-the-scenes facilitator for Andrew's financial and social dealings. Loney writes that Epstein often acted as a fixer, arranging introductions to powerful figures and smoothing over awkward situations for the Duke. One claim that's turning heads is the suggestion of cash-filled suitcases. According to the book, Epstein may have delivered large amounts of money to Andrew, the purpose and origin of which remain murky. Loney hints at the involvement of shadowy international players, from Middle Eastern businessmen to alleged links with Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. While these claims are yet to be independently verified, they add a spy thriller dimension to the story. Then there's the allegation of a sex addiction, a detail that, if true, could reframe Andrew's social habits and explain his frequent presence in Epstein's orbit. Loney stops short of medical diagnosis, but paints a picture of a man living in a bubble of privilege and temptation, surrounded by people who enabled his behavior rather than restrained it. What makes this chapter in the saga especially dangerous for Andrew is that it shifts the narrative from guilt by association to something more active. Instead of being a passive friend who made a poor judgment call, Loney's version paints him as someone who knowingly benefited from Epstein's resources and possibly his darker network. For the royal family, the optics couldn't be worse. They've been trying to rehabilitate the monarchy's image post-Megxit and following the Queen's death. But with headlines about espionage, cash handoffs, and 16 phone numbers, Prince Andrew's shadow looms large over every effort. And just when you think it can't get messier, the Trump connection surfaces. Donald Trump's name doesn't appear in this saga by accident. In Loney's account, Trump, Epstein, and Prince Andrew weren't just three separate high-profile men whose paths occasionally crossed. They moved in overlapping social circles where power, money, and influence flowed freely. It's no secret that Trump and Epstein knew each other for decades. They were photographed together in the 1990s and early 2000s, often at Mar-a-Lago or New York charity events. Epstein even attended Trump's parties, and flight logs placed Trump on Epstein's private jet at least once. Publicly, Trump has alternated between downplaying the friendship and saying he knew Epstein like everybody in Palm Beach did. Loney's book doesn't accuse Trump of direct involvement in Andrew's scandal, but it frames the three men as part of an elite, almost club-like ecosystem, where favors were traded, introductions arranged, and the lines between personal and political blurred. Andrew's role, the well-connected royal who could lend an air of legitimacy to gatherings, even as some attendees harbored far murkier reputations. One particularly eyebrow-raising anecdote suggests that Andrew and Trump may have shared guests and acquaintances through Epstein's network, though no concrete evidence ties Trump to Andrew's alleged misconduct. Still, the mere mention of Trump alongside Andrew and Epstein makes the story bigger, bolder, and politically charged. For the palace, the Trump connection is tricky. The monarchy prides itself on being politically neutral, yet here's a senior royal linked, even indirectly, to a former US president known for controversy. The optics alone risk dragging Buckingham Palace into a global media storm it desperately wants to avoid. But the biography doesn't stop at controversial friendships. From private jets and phone numbers to dinner parties where billionaires and politicians rubbed shoulders, it teases a world where the stakes were high and secrets higher. And then comes the most bizarre twist of all, the alleged plot to kill Prince Andrew. As if espionage hints and political entanglements weren't enough, the new biography and related media chatter toss in one more jaw-dropping claim: plot to assassinate Prince Andrew. The allegation first gained traction after a Daily Mail video teased a strange chapter involving the Argentines allegedly plotting to kill Andrew on the Caribbean island of Mustique. The idea sounds ripped straight from a Bond film: a tropical paradise, shadowy foreign operatives, and a high-value royal target. According to snippets cited by tabloids, the supposed plot dates back to the aftermath of the Falklands War in 1982. Andrew, who had served as a Royal Navy helicopter pilot during the conflict, was reportedly vacationing on Mustique when unnamed Argentine agents allegedly discussed a plan to exact revenge for Britain's victory. The method? That part remains vague, with some accounts suggesting it never progressed beyond talk. It's important to note, mainstream outlets have not verified these claims, and the palace has made no comment. Some royal watchers believe the story has been exaggerated or sensationalized to sell books. Others see it as one more example of how Andrew's life has been surrounded, or perhaps haunted, by danger, scandal, and intrigue. Whether fact, embellishment, or outright fiction, the assassination subplot adds yet another layer of drama to an already explosive narrative. It reinforces the idea that Andrew's life has not been a quiet one of royal duty, but a turbulent mix of high society glamour, dangerous associations, and now, if this is to be believed, deadly threats. And as this storm brews, the public's reaction is only getting louder. If the revelations in Loney's book have rattled Buckingham Palace, you wouldn't know it from their public stance, or rather, their lack of one. Both Prince Andrew and the royal household have so far remained silent, issuing no statements to refute or address the new allegations. It's the same strategy they've used since the disastrous BBC interview. Say nothing, weather the headlines, and hope the storm eventually passes. But outside palace walls, the public's voice is growing sharper. A recent poll shows that 67% of Britons now believe Andrew should be stripped of his remaining titles, up from 62% just 3 years ago. For many, the Epstein connection alone was enough to justify removing him from royal duties entirely. These new allegations, layered with talk of espionage, political entanglements, and assassination plots, have only cemented that view. Among royal commentators, the consensus is grim. Andrew has become a liability. One veteran palace insider told the press that there's no way back for the Duke of York, no matter how the family spins it. Even his role at private family events has reportedly been reduced, with cameras and press kept at a distance whenever he appears. The monarchy, still adjusting to the reign of King Charles III, is desperate to project stability and integrity. Yet the shadow of Andrew's scandals makes that task harder by the day. Every tabloid headline about Epstein or Trump drags the royal brand back into murky waters. And that brings us to the final question. With his reputation in tatters and public opinion against him, what happens to Prince Andrew now? When you strip away the palace protocol, the carefully worded statements, and the centuries-old tradition, you're left with this. A senior member of the British royal family, whose name is now inseparable from some of the most notorious figures of our time. The allegations entitled "The Rise and Fall of the House of York" have reignited a fire many thought had burned out. 16 Epstein phone numbers, cash-filled suitcases, whispers of intelligence connections, a social orbit that included Donald Trump, and incredibly, a story about an assassination plot on a Caribbean island. Individually, any one of these threads could dominate headlines. Together, they form a web that's almost impossible for Prince Andrew to escape. Whether every detail is true or partly embellished, the damage to his reputation, and by extension, the monarchy's, is undeniable. For the public, Andrew is no longer just the Queen's son or the Duke of York. He's a symbol of what happens when privilege, power, and poor judgment collide. For the palace, he's a reminder that scandals don't fade. They evolve, resurface, and return with more force than before. And for journalists and biographers, his story is a goldmine they're far from finished digging. One thing is certain, the shadow over Prince Andrew isn't going away. And in the court of public opinion, his sentence has already been delivered.